Welcome to this episode of our One Washington County podcast. I'm your host, Julie McLeod. During these 30-minute sessions, we'll explore the mission and services of various departments and programs within the county organization and our ongoing commitment to meet needs of our residents. The term One Washington County reflects our vision to work together, aligning our passion, resources, and expertise to support a thriving, equitable, and inclusive community. Today, I'm joined by the Interim Director of the Washington County Juvenile Department, Dr. Jennifer Cearley. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you, Julie.
Jennifer, you've been leading the Juvenile Department now for about 8 months, having served previously for several years as Assistant Director as well as Research and Evaluation Analyst for the department. What am I leaving out about your background and how things are going for you as you've settled into this new leadership role?
First, let me say that it's a real honor to be able to serve the youth and families and victims of crime in Washington County. It's been so wonderful to work with everybody and support our community and help young people be crime-free and healthy. I came to Washington County in, I believe, 2017. And I came here from Eugene, where I worked with Lane County and the juvenile department. There it was called the Youth Services Department. For many, many years, as I worked through grad school, working directly with kids and families in secure settings and residential settings, and eventually becoming the researcher there before coming here. So I love juvenile justice. It feels like it's just in my veins, and have loved serving kids since maybe about 1998 or so. And at the same time, I worked at Oregon Social Learning Center, so working in behavioral health research around prevention science, so looking at interventions and programs to help prevent kids from becoming delinquent or having offenses with law enforcement.
That's wonderful, Jen. Thanks for sharing that. I've heard it described that the work that you and your staff do is, quote, human-centered. Can you tell us what exactly that means, and how is it different than the way some communities approach juvenile justice?
Well, I have to say that I do think that juvenile justice as a whole is really becoming more human-centered, and we're really recognizing the importance of that as institution, so to speak. Human-centered is really kind of what it sounds like, in that we look at youth as unique individuals. So we approach their needs. We work under something called the Risk Needs Responsivity Principle. So we really assess the strengths that kids have. We try to build on those and help reinforce them, as well as the risks that they have. And we help to mitigate those risks and really help advance kids. But looking at them as individuals, I think some of the old school, if you will, work that folks did with kids and families was really sort of cookie cutter, in that, we expected the same interventions to work with all kids and with all families. But what we know now is that you really have to meet people where they're at and help support them where they're at with their own experiences. And so human-centered for us really is reflective of that work and that individualized approach.
It sounds like it's also centered in healing the youth and their family dynamics rather than, say, punishment. I think maybe there's some misunderstandings of how that work can keep kids from reoffending versus punishing them.
Yes, and when we think about interventions, we think about how to support change versus not necessarily punishment, which hasn't been shown to be effective in the research. But intervening, yes. So it's not healing without accountability. Accountability is a really key component of that. But it's about moving forward, and we hear about traumatic stress, but working through that, we do know that a lot of our kids, our clients, they have more trauma than maybe an average young person might experience, but it's how to work through that towards post-traumatic growth.
That's really interesting. Can you explain some of the ways that you all work with youth who have committed crimes and how you involve their families in addressing their behaviors, and maybe say more about how you hold them accountable?
Yes, I can do that. It's really one of the wonderful parts of our work is all of the partners that are involved as we address kids' needs and address their accountability. Parents being one of the critical partners, because the reinforcing behaviors that happen at home, we want to make sure, that they're working towards positivity and growth and being therapeutic in approach to kids. But there's also their coaches and their other mentors and the schools and the teachers. So many people are really important in the lives of kids, and parents for sure are really important. We work with kids in a lot of ways, and we mentioned the human-centered approach, and I think our approach to kids depends on what the individual client comes to us with. So that might be a young person has a fight with one of their friends, or maybe somebody who's not their friend at school. Sometimes we are able to bring them into a mediation process. So we have contracts with amazing folks who do a mediation process to work through things between victims and perpetrators of crime to help support some healing in the community. And we really work to treat kids at the lowest level possible, because there is research that shows that we can inadvertently bring them further into our system, and we want to avoid that and keep them really community focused as much as we can. So other times kids can be placed on probation. We have a variety of informal interventions that we do with kids. So diversion programs with the community where they can be supported before any court intervention, all the way to court intervention where they're placed on formal probation and we monitor court guidelines for them, court directives. We try to support them in school so that they have a strong foundation. We try to make sure that their home is healthy for them, a healthy place for them to be, and then build on all of those risk and protective factors that we monitor.
What's the gateway, Jen? Is it typically a police report due to a criminal behavior, or do schools refer kids? How do they get access to your services?
In our system, all of ours is police law enforcement referral based. And we do support programs in the community where schools can refer kids that are having a tough time. Those are not services that we deliver, but services that we support in the community. But everything that when we start working with folks, it is law enforcement referral based.
Gotcha. I was wondering if we could talk a little bit about the juvenile drug court program that you guys have. It seems to have been very successful over the years, helping redirect youth away from criminal activity as well as alcohol and other drugs. Can you tell us more about the Keys to Success program and how it helps youth who are involved in it, and who we partner with to provide those services?
I could talk about the Keys to Success program all day long. It's such a wonderful program, and one of the things that is so fantastic about it and so supportive about it is that is a group of people who have come together to support kids through the court process. Everybody's working together. Some of the partnerships include, the judges, the court, the district attorney's office, we have treatment providers, we have peer support, we have culturally specific providers, as well as juvenile department staff. They come together to staff cases in which they discuss how to be as supportive as possible. If there are sanctions that are needed to help course correct with kids as they work through the program. And everybody's really working together on a path towards helping kids really abstain from substances and be crime-free. It's a very supportive court process. And at the end, there is the potential of even expunction of records. And so it's a really great thing for young people who have found themselves substance use dependent and with substance use disorders, and has been a really successful, exciting program for us.
That does sound really exciting. About how many kids do you think are involved in it at any point in time?
It's a relatively small program. I would say on average of probably around 15, but I'd have to fact check that.
Thank you. Jen, what are your thoughts about the overrepresentation of youth of color in the juvenile justice system, and how is your department meeting the culturally specific needs of these young people and their families?
So we know from tracking data over time that kids of color are really disparately impacted by our system at almost every decision point. So as you look at the number of kids that we see being referred to our system all the way through to the number of kids who are committed to the Oregon Youth Authority, we see really disparate numbers for the impact to kids of color. And one of the things that we've tried to do with our community partners is be really creative about making sure that kids are getting what they actually need versus us just delivering services and it not helping or being supportive or
what you think they need.
Yeah, exactly. And so we have really partnered with a lot of community partners that serve their communities really well. Right now we have partnerships to serve kids at the diversion level, so kids before they even go to court, see a judge, anything like that. We have advanced some family navigation work that has been delivered by different partners over time. We have culturally specific mentoring contract, and we're focused on making sure that kids have the supports that they actually need. We have really increased our bilingual services so that kids are being served in the appropriate languages. A lot of our staff speak other languages, and we're trying to just meet the community where it's at, knowing that our community is so beautifully diverse and changing over time, and that we have to change with it.
Across the county organization, we do rely on a number of partners, as you mentioned, who help us deliver a wide range of services to the community. In the case of the juvenile department, can you describe how you partner with our local school districts who serve some of the same young people that are on your caseload?
Yeah, school is a really important part of mitigating risk and increasing protective factors. That risk needs responsivity piece of our work. And we have staff who meet kids at schools, who work with teachers in supporting kids and making sure that they're progressing in school. And recently, in response to some violent crime in our community, we've really started working with Hillsborough School District and Beaverton School District towards advancing how we work with the community to help support them in times of crisis. How we work to spread knowledge and meet families where they're at during a time of fear, when there's violent crime going on in the community. So we've done some evening workshops for parents on things like what they can look for with their kids as far as signs of risk, and just being out in the community to answer questions and be support. We know that our school district partners are working so hard to support all of the families in our community, and so we're trying to be really good partners in that work and help provide information.
That's wonderful. Kind of as a follow-up to the topic of partnerships with school districts, I know that the Hillsborough School District also provides educational programming at our Harkins House residential facility. Can you tell us a little bit about Harkins House, who it's intended for, and the services that young people and their families receive there?
Yeah, we're really lucky to partner with Hillsborough School District with our Harkins House. Harkins House is it's called a basic residential program that serves 14 youth at a time. It is a program where kids live, and generally speaking, that's going to be kids who are struggling a bit in the community and at home. We want to make sure that we don't have more kids in detention than there really needs to be, and that those spaces are safe for kids that really are the highest community risk. So Harkins House, they serve kids with support, behavioral rehabilitation services. There's a school at Harkins House, so they have school on site. They do recreational activities. They go out into the community for recreational activities. And we have staff members who are there supporting their families as well and working towards reintegration at home and in the community. And that looks really different for every single client at Harkin's House. But our staff are always working really hard with the goal of keeping our kids in our community.
So, am I understanding correctly that Harkin's House isn't a place where kids would go if they received a sanction? It's more of a place to learn skills and to heal?
Yeah, I want to be fair and say that it might feel like a sanction to the kids who go there.
Sure.
In that they're not at home, but it is a voluntary program. And the kids are there to help learn some skills so that to help them be successful when they do go back home.
You're talking a little bit about just the crisis that some families are facing in their communities. We've heard recently that many youth and their families are experiencing a high level of crisis, often linked to violence, behavioral health issues, and substance abuse. What do you attribute this to, and how is the Juvenile Department responding?
Yeah, I think that's the question of the century. I don't know that I necessarily have. I think there's a lot of things that impact the level of crisis that we're seeing, but what I can say is that the needs of the youth that we serve are really high right now. And so in terms of having basic needs met, experiencing violence and other traumas in their childhood, we're seeing a lot of that and needing to respond to really high levels of crisis throughout the community.
That's really sad.
It is. And our staff are doing a really good job of managing a lot of things. And I think that our community has really mobilized as it needs to address these new needs and this new level of support throughout the community.
Is there anything that, quote unquote, the average community member could do to support this work and support the young people in our neighborhoods?
Young people need mentors. I always try to encourage volunteerism. Young people need adults. It's one of the biggest support factors, protective factors in kids' lives, is having adults that they can really talk to, having mentors that they can talk to and that support them no matter what, support them through accountability, support their education, support their skill development. And so I really think that volunteerism is a fantastic way to help support kids right now.
Thank you for that. Jen, is there anything else that you'd like us to know about the Juvenile Department or the needs of young people in our community?
I think just to say that we have an amazing group of people here serving young people and their families, also the victims of the crimes that happen in our community, that if anybody has any opportunity to support the young people in their neighborhoods, in their local communities, it's amazing. We do have a mentoring program here at the Juvenile Department. It's called the STEP program. And we are always excited for anybody who is interested in mentoring a young person to set them up with somebody who could really use them, use their support, use their caring, and would be really excited to spend time with them.
So, Jen, if somebody wanted to get involved in the STEP program, could they just go to our website at WashingtonCountyOR.gov and do a search for STEP program?
They can, and it's under the Juvenile Department on the website. And then our phone number for our front desk is 503-846-8861, and anybody's really welcome to call too, and we can get them in touch with our program coordinator.
Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for spending this time with us and helping us to understand more about what our community is experiencing and how the Juvenile Department is meeting that challenge.
Thanks so much, Julie.